Rolling Stone calls her the Gen Z version of Barbara Walters, but her millions of fans know to call her Daddy. Alex Cooper's rise to podcasting royalty has been one for the ages. This is the story of how she got there. Cooper's rise is impressive, but it wasn't exactly rags to riches. Born on August 21, 1994, she was raised in the affluent suburb Newton, Pennsylvania. Both of Cooper's parents held high-paying jobs. Her mother is a psychologist, and her father works in television production, focusing on sporting events such as NHL hockey games. She attended the private Pennington School, but she didn't grow up feeling wealthy compared to her classmates at the posh institution. She told the New York Times, "I was constantly aware of money growing up. I remember, of my friends around me, I was considered the poorest. That feeling of financial inferiority surely influenced the competitive streak that has driven her since her youth." As she told New York Times Magazine in 2022, "I am so competitive. I push myself to be the best I can." Cooper was raised in a family of athletes. She's revealed in interviews that her dad played Division I hockey at Wisconsin, her mom was an equestrian, and both her siblings played sports. Cooper chose soccer and played it successfully, receiving scholarship offers from some of America's top schools. But she decided against an Ivy League school and accepted a full scholarship to play Division I soccer at Boston University. As she told the Trentonian in 2013, "I love soccer, and the level of soccer at Ivy League colleges is not comparable to D1. Her athletic career came to an end after an undisclosed incident involving one of her coaches. As Cooper told Cosmopolitan, the experience had left her with so much lingering trauma that she was still not ready to publicly address it at the time. The incident, she said, fundamentally changed her. Specifically, she told The Times that it made her a stronger person. But what happened? Without offering further details, Cooper noted she didn't play at all during her senior year, but still kept her athletic scholarship, an unusual arrangement that she says indicates plenty about where the wrong was done. After graduating with a degree in film and television, Cooper moved to New York and tried to break into the field. While paying her rent with a job selling ads for Gotham magazine, she came upon the idea of starting a podcast. She later recalled to the Los Angeles Times that she'd never actually listened to a podcast before, but she still had an idea of the kind of show she wanted to make. She teamed up with her then roommate, Sophia Franklin, and began Call Her Daddy. As Cooper told Vanity Fair, the title came from a t-shirt she liked to wear in college that evoked uncomfortable reactions from men. She recalled, "They'd be frustrated, and I could tell it was because I shouldn't have this on my chest. They're like, 'We're Daddy,' and I'm like, 'No, I'm Daddy.'" From the very start of the show, Cooper and Franklin served up raw, raunchy, and unvarnished conversations on sex and relationships. It was a style they would come to describe as locker room talk, but for chicks. That approach resonated with female listeners, and Call Her Daddy began attracting an audience. As 19-year-old fan Addison Rose told the New York Times in 2020, "It's interesting to hear sex talked about in such an honest way from a women's perspective. It was refreshing." Call Her Daddy's early popularity captured the attention of digital media company Barstool Sports. Within weeks of the podcast's 2018 debut, the duo signed a 3-year deal with Barstool to host the show. Initially, in this arrangement, Cooper and Franklin were reportedly both paid $75,000 per year. Cooper was aware that a podcast from two women's point of view might seem like a poor fit for Barstool, and plenty of men in the audience initially agreed. So she addressed the backlash in a blog post, writing, "How did a D1 athlete and an economics major who quit her job on Wall Street end up at Barstool? Well, Barstool liked our idea of uncensored, real female locker room talk, which quite frankly is just as nasty as guy locker room talk, and we had no problem exploiting our experiences, as well as ourselves, for our listeners' entertainment."
We're starting from the bottom, but I promise you, we're gonna take this place over.
Within 2 months of signing the deal, Call Her Daddy exploded from 12,000 downloads per episode to 2 million. However, that sudden increase in popularity would soon drive a rift between the co-hosts. As Call Her Daddy became more successful, Cooper began to feel it had outgrown the platform it started on. In 2020, the hosts were still in the middle of their 3-year deal when they began efforts to unleash themselves from Barstool. What began with cryptic clues became open warfare when they essentially went on strike by refusing to produce new episodes of the show. In May 2020, Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy briefly took over Call Her Daddy. He posted an episode where he accused Cooper and Franklin of trying to illegally exit their contract with Barstool and characterized them as, quote, "unprofessional, disloyal, and greedy." Meanwhile, the New York Post reported that tension had also risen between Cooper and Franklin, with one source saying, "They're not speaking to each other anymore. They've completely turned on each other and started arguing over who was the real talent and who did more of the heavy lifting." Franklin told Rolling Stone that Cooper wanted to stick with Barstool while she wanted to pursue more lucrative opportunities elsewhere. When the dust settled in May 2020, Cooper announced she'd signed a new solo deal with Barstool to continue Call Her Daddy without Franklin.
This brand, the Daddy Gang, is bigger than Sophia and me.
After taking Call Her Daddy's reins, Cooper began reworking the podcast to be less raunchy. As she explained to Rolling Stone, she'd started to feel that the show's graphic sex talk had run its course. She said, "Eventually, towards the end, I was like, I am going to lose my mind if we have to do one more sex segment and pretend we had sex this week. I resented the character that I had built. Then came COVID-19. While isolating during the pandemic, she took a hard look at what she'd achieved with Call Her Daddy and realized she wanted to take it in a different direction. At the 2023 Cannes Lions Film Festival, she said, I was a Division I athlete. I went to college. I studied film and communications. There was more I wanted to discuss." Call Her Daddy's evolved format increased its popularity, and Cooper received more opportunities. In 2021, Variety reported that Cooper entered a $60 million deal with Spotify to become the podcast's exclusive carrier for 3 years. That payday was so significant that she immediately became the highest-paid female podcaster in history. Naturally, Cooper was beyond proud that she'd entered the big leagues, boasting to the Los Angeles Times, "A woman just got what in the past would have been a male contract." In June 2023, Cooper and then-fiancé Matt Kaplan co-founded Trending. Variety described the company as committed to elevating today's voices and crafting tomorrow's stories for an independent, resourceful, and inclusive generation. 2 months later, Cooper also formed her own production company. A subsidiary of Trending, the Unwell network was launched to produce content for other rising stars. Cooper's first 2 acquisitions were social media phenom Alex Earle and British TikTok sensation Madeline Argy. Appropriately, both launched their own podcasts under the Unwell banner, Pretty Lonesome with Madeline Argy and Hot Mess with Alex Earle. Cooper's intentions for Unwell were clear. As she told the New York Times, "I don't want to just be relying on Alex Cooper and Call Her Daddy. The point of starting this was also so that I have all these different ancillary businesses that can be running." In fall 2023, Cooper took Call Her Daddy on the road for its first run of live shows. The 7-stop Unwell tour featured a different celebrity guest and shirtless male dancers. Described by the New York Times as one-woman shows wrapped in a rowdy bachelorette party, the circus-like atmosphere was a world apart from Cooper's typically intimate interviews. As Kaplan told the Times, "There's a call to action to have fun and party. No one wants to come to the Call Her Daddy tour and just, listen."
Daddy Gang, it is officially opening night of the Unwell tour.
The tour brought her into contact with fans for the first time, and they turned out in force. The experience of meeting her daddy gang was emotional for both Cooper and Kaplan. He recalled, "I started to cry the first night, and so did she. Alex has worked so hard to have an authentic relationship with these women." In April 2024, Cooper and Kaplan tied the knot in Mexico's Riviera Maya. Call Her Daddy listeners knew Kaplan as Mr. Sexy Zoom Man, a nickname Cooper gave him because they met via Zoom meeting. Interviewed by W Magazine, Cooper admitted she'd been dubious about marriage in the past because she thought so many marriages were unhealthy for both partners. She explained, "With Matt, it immediately was obvious to me, once our relationship progressed to that point that it was time, that yes, I would love to marry him." Cooper explained that Kaplan's ongoing support for her career convinced her he was husband material, as her success made many men she dated insecure. Cooper took on a new challenge when she signed with NBC Universal to host Watch with Alex Cooper, a series of live watch parties for the 2024 Paris Olympics. Discussing the opportunity with NBC Sports, she said, "As a former athlete, the chance to cheer on the world's greatest athletes at the Olympics is beyond thrilling." On Late Night with Seth Meyers, Cooper revealed that she had a family connection to the Olympics. Her father, a TV producer specializing in sports, had worked on coverage of previous games, and her sister is an editor who worked on the Tokyo Olympics in 2021.
If anything, I'm the last person in my family to do the Olympics.
The series showcased Cooper watching the games as they aired alongside friends, comedians, athletes, and various celebrities while fans could weigh in. Cooper still faithfully hosts Call Her Daddy and is clearly grateful for the platform she's built with it. But if she keeps getting high-profile gigs, covering the Olympics may just be the start of an exciting new chapter for the podcaster.